Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to explore how to create beautiful curves and shapes using Python with the processing framework. I'll guide you step by step through the code, explaining each part in detail. So by the end of this video, you'll be comfortable with curves and Bezier functions in processing and how to tweak them to create some unique visualizations. So let's dive in. First thing first, let's start by setting up our canvas. In processing, we use the size function to define our canvas dimensions. Here I have chosen 500 by 500 pixels square. Now this gives us enough space to experiment with our curves. The next step is to use the load image function to load an image onto our canvas. It's easier to plot points and curves by using a grid background for reference, so you will add one by using a ready-made graphic. I have chosen this simple grid image so that you can download from the link in the description below. Files like images are stored in the data folder of your processing sketch. So create a data folder within your sketch folder and place the image right there. It should look something like this. Now let's load the image onto our canvas. Let's make a variable called grid and assign the image to it using the load image function. Now this function takes the path to the image as an argument, and it returns an image object which is then assigned to the grid variable. Okay, good so far. Now let's display the image on our canvas using the image function. This function takes the image object and the x and y coordinates as an arguments. So let's pass the image that we stored in the variable grid and the x and y coordinates as 0 and 0. This will place the image at the top left corner of the canvas. Let's now run the sketch to see the grid image on the canvas, and there you go. To draw a curved line in processing, we use the curve function. This function takes 4 sets of coordinates as arguments. These are the starting control points, start of the curve, end of the curve, and the ending control points. So let's begin with a standard line and then move on to a curved line. We can draw a straight line using the line function. It takes the x and y coordinates of the starting and ending points as an arguments. So let's pass 100, 100 and 400, 400 as an arguments to the line function. Let's now run the sketch and you will see a straight line drawn from these points. Now let's draw a curved line using the curve function. We'll pass the starting control point, starting point, ending point, and the ending control points as an argument. So let's pass these values and call the stroke function to set the color of the curve. Now let's run the sketch and you will see the same results as before. The 4 middle values within the curve function match those of the line function, but the curve function also requires 2 additional values. These are the control points that determine the curve shape and the direction. In this case, the control points are 0 and 0 and 500 and 500. The curve function uses these control points to create a smooth curve between the starting and ending points. Before exploring this in more detail, add the following lines to the end of your code to draw a yellow line of the same length at the same position but with some curvature. Now run the sketch and you'll see a yellow line with a slight S-bend. By comparing these two lines, you can see how the control points affect the curve shape. So to see how the control points work, you can add the following orange curves to your code. The first curve function draws an orange curve from control point 1 to the starting point of the yellow curve, and the second curve function draws another orange curve from the end point of the yellow curve to control point 2. Now run the sketch and you will see the orange curves connecting the control points to the starting and ending points of your yellow curve. Last but not least, let's talk about the curve tightness. The curve tightness function adjusts the curve's tightness. It takes a single argument, which is a float value, and it ranges between -5 to 5 with a default value of 0. So let's call this function above the yellow curve and pass 1 as an argument. And there you go. The curve is now more curved than before. You can experiment with different values to see how the curve changes. Now that you have a good understanding of the curve function, let's move on to the Bezier functions. Think of a Bezier function like a flexible string that you can pull to make a nice smooth shape. The Bezier function is similar to the curve function, but it takes 8 arguments. The first two numbers tell the curve where to start. It's like the end of a string that you hold on to. The next two pairs are control points. Imagine you have two friends who can each hold the string at different spots to make it bend. They can pull it a little in different directions to shape it, but the string doesn't actually touch their hands, it just bends towards them. The last two numbers tell the curve where to end. Now this is like the other end of the string that's tied down. So when you run Bezier function with these values, the computer will start the curve at 400 and 100, bend it towards the two control points at 250 and 250, and then finish it at 100 and 400. So if you change where the control points are, the curve will bend in different ways, just like if your friends moved their hands while pulling the string. And lastly, let's give it a color of pink and run the sketch. And there we go, we have a beautiful pink Bezier curve on our canvas. So I hope this was helpful in understanding how to create curves and shapes using Python with the processing framework. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, keep practicing and take care.